In this lecture, we are going to see concept of equality in political science. Concept of equality is not uniform, it is not identical. There is no singular conception of equality. You give one definition of equality, you will find 10 people who are opposing you. So, like any other concept in political science, equality is very much contested. I would say the most contested concept of political science is equality. Because with respect to conception of equality, there are real life implications in public policy. If you give one conception of equality, your country's public policy changes totally, and that public policy have real change in real lives of people. If you say my conception of equality stands on my conception of equality stands on concept of uniformity, concept of concept of outcome, then my whole system becomes socialist. If I talk about level playing field, then my system becomes socialist welfarist. I become welfarist. So equality, conception of equality can change the very core of a particular state, right? So equality can change the very core, the very understanding of a particular state. And equality as a value itself is a sovereign virtue. What sovereign virtue means? Equality is sovereign virtue. It was said by Dorkin. Dorkin. Dorkin, right? Dorkin called equality to be sovereign virtue. What does sovereign virtue mean? Equality is a sovereign virtue. A question comes like this. Comment on equality is a sovereign virtue. What you have to basically write is that equality is not natural. It is not natural. What does it mean by equality is a sovereign virtue? It means that equality is not natural. Right? Nature work on survival of the fittest. Sovereign virtue means equality is not natural. Nature work on survival of the fittest. And state has to establish equality. State has to establish equality. And it is the foundational principle on which how state is will be measured. Right? State has to establish equality. There is no equality in nature. Nature work on survival of the fittest. So this is equality. I am not giving any definition of equality, any definite concept of equality, but we will have to have some some overlapping consensus on what is equality, right? Across 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 political science and across political ideologies, we'll have have some middle ground, right? We'll have to have some middle ground. So basic elements of equality. What are basic elements of equality? The first basic element of equality, which will be across ideologies, and this is basically the overlapping consensus. All types of equality will be okay with these principles. So absence of special privileges. This is first conception of equality, or this is the first idea or the first element of equality, which is common in all of the ideologies. Adequate and equal opportunities is also a basic element of uh, equality, and equal satisfaction of basic needs of all. Equal satisfaction of basic needs of all. Absence of special privileges, adequate and equal opportunity, and equal satisfaction of basic needs of all. These are basic elements of equality which you will find across the ideologies, whether it be liberal, Marxist, or anything in middle, right? Then we have to move towards particular conception of equality. We have to understand what different kind of ideologues talk about equality. So we'll start with the first ideology. We are trying to understand different conception of equality, and the first conception of equality is liberal conception of equality. Liberal conception of equality. What is liberal conception of equality? Liberal conception of equality has three has three dimensions to it. First dimension is moral dimension. Moral dimension, which means that every life counts. Every life counts. Each life has equal human dignity. Each life counts. Each life counts independently, independently of one's achievement. If moral dimension is every life counts, basically that human dignity should be there. In terms of dignity, each human being is equal. So what is liberal conception of equality? In moral dimension, that in terms of dignity, every human being is equal. This was Kantian idea. This was idea of Kant, Immanuel Kant. Kant say that in terms of dignity, every human being is equal independently of one's achievements. So moral dimension of equality, dignity of Kant. Then in liberal conception of equality, there is legal legal equality. Legal equality talks about equality before law. Article 14 of Constitution of India, right? Equality before law. This is a classical liberal idea. Classical liberal idea equalize everyone with respect to law. This is classical liberal idea of equality. They will say, they will say, we don't believe in equality of any other kind except equality before law. Before law, everyone is equal. This is classical liberal idea, and they equalize people legally, but they don't equalize people with respect to distribution, right? So that is the basic difference. Legal equality is classical liberal idea of equality. What is classical liberalism? Go back to Locke, uh, go back to Mill, right? Bentham. So that is basically classical liberalism, and they will say we don't believe in equality in distribution. We believe in equality in rectification. As they believe in rectifactory justice, not distributive justice, they also believe in the same way in legal equality, not distributive equality, right? And the third and the third dimension in liberal view of equality is equality of opportunity. Equality of opportunity. What does this mean? Equality of opportunity is a concept that we should read with respect to equality of outcome. So let's just get finished with Marxist conception of equality as well, and then we'll try to understand equality of opportunity and equality of outcome in comparative sense. But preliminary preliminarily, what does it mean? Going back to always go back to the wordings. Equality of opportunity. You have equality to do something. Correct? As simple as that. Opportunity to do what? To do something. What is equality of opportunity? Never overcomplicate things. Equality of what? Of opportunity. Opportunity to do what? Opportunity to do something. Opportunity to do something which will be helpful to you, or which you want to do. Equality of opportunity, right? Equality of opportunity is better understood in equality in comparison with equality of outcome. I will make that comparison. For now, I will give you example as well, so that there is some idea of what is equality of opportunity mean. Equality of opportunity mean that you are applying for, let's say, UPSC exam, and you are applying for IAS. This opportunity of applying for IAS is equal to all. This is basically equality of opportunity. What is equality of outcome? That everyone who applies for IAS will get IAS as their outcome, right? So equality of opportunity means opportunity of application or opportunity to do something. Equality of outcome means if I apply, I will get that particular outcome. This is equality of opportunity. It is just opportunity to do something. Outcome is, by doing something, your outcome is fixed, right? That is equality of outcome. Then Marxist conception of equality. Marxist conception of equality. Marxist conception of equality. They will criticize legal equality of classical liberals. They will criticize equality of opportunity of classical liberals. They will criticize both of them to be procedural. What is procedural? We will understand later. So, equality of opportunity and legal equality, Marxists will say, are procedural, and they propose substantive equality or socio-economic equality or equality of outcome. All three of these word mean the same thing. Equality of outcome, substantive equality, or socio-economic equality mean the same thing, right? In Indian constitution sense, liberal conception of equality is basically fundamental rights, and Marxist conception of equality is DPSP. Fundamental rights talks about civil political rights. Marxist conception of equality is like DPSP. It talks about socio-economic equality, right? And the third conception is And the third conception of equality is social liberal, as given by social liberals. Social liberals are golden mean. They talk about equality of outcome, but they are trying to rationalize equality of outcome, right? They are social liberals are what is the primary concern of social liberals? Rationalization of equality of outcome. They want to rationalize equality of outcome. You see Rawls, you study Rawls. What is Rawls? Rawls is basically trying to rationalize his principle of greatest advantage to least advantage, his dignity principle. So, so social liberals, what they are trying to do is they are trying to rationalize equality of outcome. They are trying to balance liberty to do something and and equality of outcome. They say that there is no need to sacrifice liberty for equality, and they say that equality of outcome is more or less necessary, but equality of outcome should be rationalized. Right? We see Rawls' concept of democratic equality. What is democratic equality? Equality should be in such a way that, right? His first principle is maximum equal liberty. Then he says this is also known as equality principle, that we are giving equal liberty to everyone. When we are giving equal liberty to everyone, then inequality emerges, and he gives difference principle, where he gives two concepts: equality of opportunity to public offices, and then he gives gala, greatest advantage to least advantage, that we should form public policy in a such a way that it should lead to greatest advantage to least advantage via his concept of democratic equality. Right? So we are trying to understand various conceptions of equality. First, we understood what is equality. We understood some overlapping elements within equality, and we understood what equality is, which is it is a sovereign virtue. Then we understood liberal conception of equality. We understood its three dimensions: moral dimension, Kant's dignity, that every human with respect to dignity is equal. Then we understood legal concept, that equality before law, Article 14 of Constitution of India. Then equality of opportunity, that UPSC is open to everyone to apply. Marxist conception is that they criticize and they are opposed to legal equality, equality of opportunity. Therefore, and all these words, substantive equality, socio-economic equality, or equality of outcome, mean the exactly the same thing. Right? We are going to understand that. No need to worry. And then we understood social liberals. They are golden mean of liberals and Marxists. They are trying to rationalize equality of outcome. They are trying to rationalize socio-economic equality. They are trying to rationalize substantive equality. For Rawls, it is Gala. For Rawls, it is democratic equality that we have seen in justice. What is democratic equality? It is basically rationalization of his principle of greatest advantage to least advantage. So this is the basic idea, and this is the idea of equality. I hope you understood this. From the next lecture, difference between we'll start with difference between equality of opportunity and equality of outcome, and we'll start with what is what kind of equality people are trying to propose, right? Thank you so much. I hope this helped. And we'll start with equality of opportunity, equality of outcome, and what kind of equality should be there. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye.